Hello, welcome one and all to episode 108 of A Stitch in Time. Today's Friday, July 19th, 2019. Yet another week has come and gone, but for a change I actually know where all the time went. We're away all weekend. I've had like 3 appointments in the last 7 days and I went out for lunch on Wednesday. That was really nice. So there's been lots going on, but despite that, I actually got a fair bit of knitting done for a change. Yay! I have 2 finished projects to share with you, a new work in progress and an old work in progress also. But first, I'm going to talk about Shop the Stash, Knit Along, Crochet Along, which is taking place in the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group. So if you're interested, come on over, join in, knit or crochet anything you like from Stash. Stash is any yarn or fiber acquired prior to 2019. Chat about it in the chatter thread, post your finished pictures in the FO thread, and I will draw for prizes, early September. The Cal ends on August 31st. So check out the first thread in the chatter thread. That has all the details and also pictures of all the prizes. So I hope you'll come by and join us. So yes, as I mentioned, I have finished projects. Yay. Oh, before I get into that, I did want to just touch on, lots of you commented on the Paul McCartney footage that I included at the end of last week's podcast. I'm glad so many of you enjoyed it. I've actually gone back and watched that section a couple of times myself. That was just such I just can't express how fabulous that experience was, and it's really stayed with me. Usually I see a concert and within a few days, you remember it, but it doesn't really stay with you. This one, I just keep thinking about, maybe partly because I can actually relive some of it. This morning, I was watching some YouTube while I was eating my breakfast, and something came up on my feed that I rewatched. So it's Carpool Karaoke with James Corden, featuring Paul McCartney. If you have not seen that and you're a Paul McCartney fan, just Google it on YouTube, or I'll try and remember to put a link to it in the show notes. It's just, I think it's about 20 minutes long, but it's just really cool. What a neat experience some of the people that were, I don't want to give anything away. It's just there's some really cool stuff in it. So go check it out if you're a Paul McCartney fan. Okay, knitting, all about the knitting. So one thing I really was hoping to get done and did were my Cliff Walk socks. This is the 3rd pattern in the 2nd Handmade Sock Society by Helen Stewart. And I knit them from Dream in Color Smooshy with Cashmere in the Slippery Trail colorway. When I saw this pattern, I saw the name of it in particular, I immediately pictured a yarn that had colors of the sun, or not the sun, the sky, the sea, trees, the earth, and thought of this yarn immediately. And the fact that it's named Slippery Trail is just icing on the cake. So as you can see, it has a twisted 1x1 ribbed cuff, and then this lace pattern that runs down the entire sock, and almost looks cable-y, just the way it kind of goes in, just the lace pattern. It's very simple, 6-row repeat, very intuitive. So these knit up quickly. I really enjoyed the colors in the yarn. I really enjoyed the feel of the cashmere in the yarn. So I'm feeling good to have this one done. And I don't know, I guess probably can tell on screen when I was taking pictures of these today. And yes, I actually updated some of my project pages, so they're no longer blank pictures or just pictures of yarn. I have included some FO and in progress shots on various projects. Anyway, when I was taking pictures of these today, I could see that one, I think it's this one, is a bit darker than the other. And you know, that is often the nature of hand-dyed yarns. I've had this happen before. One brand, I guess, for lack of a better word, that comes to mind is Fleece Artist and Handmaiden. I find that happens with their yarns quite often, and I think it has to do just with the way they're dyed. I think the outside of the skein maybe gets more saturation than the inside. That's my best uninformed guess. Maybe hand dyers out there can let me know if I'm on the right track. In any case, it doesn't really bother me. They're obviously matching socks. And, you know, we pay a lot of money for hand-dyed yarns because they're unique. So we shouldn't expect or even want them to behave like commercial yarns. So I don't mind that at all. I'm quite happy with how these turned out. So you might be able to hear a tractor in the background. It's sort of occurred to me that noise may be filtering in. There's a tractor in the field that's right behind us, and maybe once or twice a year they go through with some piece of equipment. I'm not a farm girl. I have no idea what it's called, but I don't think it's exactly a mower. I don't think they're cutting the grass that's and more like weeds that have come up over the summer, but they're doing something to rototill or mow them down or something. So hopefully it's not too intrusive. I don't want to close any windows because I do want to keep the fresh air in. There's a bit of sunshine coming out. We've not had much of a summer. We had a really nice spring, and then our summer has kind of been a bit of a bust so far. Now, I don't mind that we haven't had any really hot weather because I don't function well in that. But a little more sun would be nice. We've had quite a bit of rain. So it was overcast most of the day, and there's still a lot of clouds out there, but it's nice to see a bit of sun shining through. So hopefully that makes the colors good or the lighting good for filming. So we went to Victoria this past weekend to help pack up my mother-in-law's place, and so I know I talked about my electric Peacock socks last week, and I said I would work on the second one. I think I was partway down the foot on the second one, and I said I would work on it in the car. And I guess I knit on them a little bit while I was editing last week's podcast, but I was really surprised at how little I had left to knit. By the time we reached the ferry terminal, I had pretty well finished the toe and just had to Kitchener stitch it. So it was a good thing I tucked another, well, I won't say skein of yarn. It's a good thing I tucked more yarn into my bag because I definitely needed to start another pair. Anyway, let's talk about this one. So these I am calling my Stephen B. Electric Peacock socks. I bought this yarn last summer when I drove back to Minneapolis with my sister Janine and visited one yarn shop along the way. That was Stephen B's in Minneapolis, and this is a color that is exclusive to them. It is by 3 Irish girls on their Adorn Luxe base called Electric Peacock. So these are just my basic 64 stitch plain vanilla socks, top down. I do about 1.5 inches of ribbing, 2x2 ribbing in this case. I knit about 8 inches, insert my favorite yarn over short row heel, and then zip, zip, zip down the foot and do I think it's called a wedge toe. I kind of have a formula that I use. So if it's 64 stitches, I decrease every second row down to 32, and then I decrease every row down to 16. So there's 8 on each needle, and that fits my foot really well. So if you want a little bit of a closer look, I never feel like the camera, either the still photo or the video, ever really accurately reflects just how bright this yarn is. It's a true kind of neon green, turquoise, purple in here, mixed with black. I think it's black, not navy. Anyway, fun socks. They almost look psychedelic a little bit, don't they? The way they knit up. So I am looking forward to wearing these. Not yet. Hopefully I don't need socks. Well, actually I wore wool socks to the ball game Wednesday night. Was that cool? Seems a bit crazy this time of year that we need wool socks, but sometimes we do. So, as I mentioned, I cast on another sock right away, and I've sort of had this yarn on my mind as what I wanted to knit up next. So I'm calling these my Christmas in July socks, because I'm knitting up a Christmas sock blank by Fiber Nymph Dye Works. This is her happenstance sock blank with sparkle, and it is called Sprigs and Baubles. So there's her label, and it is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina. So as you see, it's this really fun Sprigs and Baubles pattern on it. There's a really good look. And it is knitting up in this just fun speckly way. So I'll put this on a sock blocker so it gives you a nice smooth, well, as smooth as a sock blank sock can look before you wash it. I've knit a few now, and all the little squiggles and bumpy look will kind of smooth out with blocking. So that's how it's knitting up. Super fun. So I have about an inch to go before I do I'm going to do another short row heel like I did on the electric Peacock socks. So these were great. I knit on them. I haven't worked on them since the weekend. We had some downtime in the evening on Saturday night, and I worked on them again, like driving around. I think a little bit on the ferry, or no, I think I actually read on the ferry on the way home. I might have worked on them on the way there, and then in the car on the way home. So as you can see, quite a bit knit up in just what seems like a short time, but I guess it all adds up. And then I was really happy to pick up my Edinburgh shawl again this week. This is by Helen Stewart also. It's a 3-color asymmetrical triangular shawl. And I was really excited to finally get to this part and see how the red yarn looked like knit up kind of in a concentrated area. And I'm probably about to here now. So I am using 3 colors of Madeline Tosh Euro Sock, and color A is AYO, AYO, and I'm all done with it now. This color B is Brienne of Tarth Battles a Bear, and that is a Game of Thrones reference. So it's like a charcoal gray with sort of taupe red, purpley blue, and then the third color is just this tonal gray charcoal color called Toner Cartridge. So during the first half of the shawl, the red is knit either alongside this one or alongside this one. So it's not easy to tell just at a glance which yarn it's being combined with. But what I was really looking forward to is the section where these two are knit together. And I was curious how much the color in this one would show up. And I'm very, very happy with how it's knitting up. So how about I stop talking about it and start showing you. So this is the, I think I'll go this way. There's the beginning. So like I said, you can't really tell which sections are using the toner cartridge and which are using the Brienne of Barth. There is that concentrated area of the AO colorway. And then I really love how this part's knitting up. It's like a subtly striped section. So the Brienne of Barth has these darker, almost black bits along with the red and the blue and the purple, kind of, I think there's a bit of green in there. So you can see how nicely it's blending. Not sure that you could tell as much from far away, but the overall effect I am really, really happy with. So I have now reached exactly 65% of the way. So very, very much enjoying working on this project this week. And then yesterday, the third shawl in the fourth Shawl Society by Helen Stewart was released, and it is called the Rockpooling shawl. As you can see, it's a triangular shawl, and it's hard to tell, but I think this patterning takes place here. Did I say it's a 3-color shawl? It is. It's very subtle, as you can see, this section. Not a lot of contrast between those 2 colors. It uses a DK yarn, and I don't have a lot of DK yarn in my stash, so I haven't gone stash diving yet. I am not sure what I have, if anything, that might work for it. I could probably use a fingering, but I think it's a good size. And what I've been thinking about, I have another Shawl Society shawl that I knit. I think it might have been from the first or second season, that I think was knit in a sport or DK yarn. It was a triangular shawl also, if I didn't already say that. And my mom was here one time and she liked it, and I gave it to her, and she has told me on several occasions how much she likes it and how much she uses it and wraps up in it in the evening sometimes. So what I'm thinking is that I may knit this up for her for Christmas, and I might actually have to go purchase some yarn for it. So for a gift, I don't mind so much, especially if it's going to be knit up right away. I've been trying really hard not to buy yarn, and I haven't since I started the Stash Cal. But sooner or later it's going to happen, and I don't mind so much, as I say, if it's for a gift and if it's going to get knit right away. So I will probably finish up this one before I move on to this one. No guarantees, because these only come out every month. I almost wish the socks came out once a month and the shawls came out every second month, because there's more knitting. I feel like there's more knitting in a shawl, especially one that takes like 3 skeins of yarn. But that's not how it works, so that's okay. But I'm already a shawl behind, and so I kind of hate to get too behind. On the other hand, does it really matter? Probably not. So I shouldn't worry about that too much. So I've been reading again, just an Agatha Christie. A Murder is Announced. This just seemed like a good, easy book to pick up as I was going out the door Friday afternoon on the way to the ferry. So I did start it on the weekend and have been reading it off and on since then, so about halfway through. So someone in very poor taste puts an ad in the local paper announcing a murder, and curious neighbors gather at the prospective scene of the crime, and lo and behold, right at 6:30 precisely, the lights go out and there are gunshots. So that's what's happening there. Enjoying it. I've read this one before. I don't remember how it turns out. So that's one good thing about you know, having a fair bit of time between reading all these. I don't remember most of how they turn out unless it's one that I've read 2 or 3 times before. So I'm enjoying it. It's all new to me, or more or less. Yeah, so this week just flown by once again. So yeah, of course the main thing that happened is that we did go over to Victoria to help Cameron's family pack up their mom's things. My mother-in-law moved into a extended care facility just last Wednesday, so she's only been in like 9 days. And it all happened very quickly. I think we're all still reeling a little bit from all of it, but it just happened to work out that last weekend was a good time for all of us to go and pack things up. And so rather than delay it, we had until, well, initially we had till the end of August to move her things out of her independent living place. But then they asked us if we could do it by the end of July because they had a new tenant for it. So yeah, there was no point waiting, so we got right to it, and it didn't take very long. As it turned out, 4 out of the 6 of us worked at it on most of Saturday, and then moved just a few things Sunday morning before we all left, and then my brother-in-law took care of the last few details this week, and I think he was handing the keys over yesterday. So yeah, just kind of a whirlwind. Went to see Cameron and I went to see my mother-in-law on Saturday evening after we'd been working at her place, and the facility she's in is really nice. We sat out on the rooftop patio, and the place is about 30 years old, so there's mature trees all around it. We heard this hawk. Actually, there were 2 hawks flying around calling to each other, and then one landed in a tree nearby. So it was really, really nice. It's very peaceful looking. There's a beautiful interior courtyard that's got trees and plants all through it. And the inside is nice and bright and pleasant, and it's just, you know, it looks like a really good place for her. And it caters to veterans. She's a veteran from the Second World War. She and her twin sister joined the Canadian Army, and of course they didn't see any action, but they worked on a base. And so yeah, I think that's something. I think she's quite proud of being a vet, and so that will speak to her. And of course she will there also, I think about half the beds or a little more are set aside for vets, so she will definitely meet a lot of people who are also in the service at that time. She's the hardest thing, well, a couple things. It's been kind of an emotional week, to be honest with you, the last few days. I'm getting used to the idea, but you know, I've never had the experience before of packing up somebody else's things, and thankfully I didn't have much to say in the way of deciding what to do with things that she didn't need anymore, like her kitchen basic everyday dishes. We've kept, you know, a lot, you know, kept lots of things. When she's in a sharing a room now, when she goes into her own room, we'll move her china cabinet in and fill it up with all her china and crystal and things. So that's something very familiar to her from home. She has her own armchair already. We'll put up some photos and pictures and things from her place, so make it more home-like for her. But yeah, it's a strange feeling deciding what to do with someone else's possessions. And it's also really what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the right word, but to see someone's life's goods reduced to just a few pieces of furniture and some boxes, it's kind of sobering. And I know we'll all get there one day, and our own kids will be doing this for us, but it was a strange thing, I have to say. And then my mother-in-law has dementia. Her short-term memory's not great. She unfortunately knows all of us, and when we got there, she was having dinner and said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" She wasn't expecting us, and as we walked, we said, we'll meet you down by your room, just finish your dinner, and heard her tell her table mates where we lived. So she obviously knows, who we are, where we are, things like that. But if you ask her, 10 minutes after dinner, what did you have for dinner, she'll have a hard time remembering to tell you. So this, she's adjusting, but I think it's going to take a while. She asked us numerous times what her new place was called. A couple of times she referred to things that she had at home, and we had just packed those things up that day, so we knew they weren't at home anymore. At one point she said that she wasn't living here, this was a hospital, and yet at the end of the visit she's like, "So now you've seen my new place, you know where I am." So it'll take a while. It took her a while to adjust to her independent living place that she moved into. I think it was about 5 years ago, and then she ended up really loving it, and I'm sure that this will be a good place for her too, and definitely will provide the care and the social interaction and stimulation that she really needs, because she tends to just go off on her own if somebody isn't there to encourage more social interaction. And we definitely see an improvement in her when she has that. And so, and the food looks really good. She had her dinner, smelled good. She said it was good. And they had made some lunch for my brother-in-law the other day that he said was very good. So of course, food's important. Or good food's important. So she'll be okay. It's just that yeah, definitely more emotional than I guess than I anticipated. And I heard from a number of you, both privately and in messages and things publicly, and just thanks so much for your comments. Some of you have been through the same sort of thing, and it helps knowing you're not alone, and to hear things from your perspective or just commiserate with each other. I found that really helpful. So thank you very much for your back and forth on that. Yeah, it's something new. Both our dads were at home until they passed away, and so we've never had to go through this before. And thankfully my mom is hopefully a long ways off from this, and she's definitely more cognizant of it anyway, and already talks about, well, when I can't manage on my own, I'll move down to Chilliwack because there's 4 of us here, and I'll go into a place, and she's got it all figured out, so it'll be easier to deal with in that sense because she's initiating it. Anyway, so I'm looking down here because these are my show notes are here. I had a really nice lunch with friends on Wednesday. We have 2 couples that we're friends with, and the 3 couples get together once for sure, sometimes twice a year for dinner, and we just always have such a nice time. And this time, just us ladies got together for lunch. I'm not sure which one of them came up with the idea, but one of them contacted me and we arranged it. So we had like a 3-hour lunch, and then we did a bit of shopping after. It was actually quite funny because they both live the next town over. And it took one of them to introduce me to a new store in town that I didn't know about. So one of them had bought something there that she wanted to return, and it's a store. It's got some clothes, has some shoes, and then lots of gift things and home decor types of things. It's quite a mix of what they carry, but really cool stuff. So it's good. I'll know next time birthdays and things are coming up, that'll be a good place to go shopping. And they had a bunch of things on clearance. So I bought a really nice wrap dress, which I don't usually wear, but I tried it on, and both my friends said, "Oh yeah, you got to get that. Looks really good." So I did, and a pair of sandals they were all like half price, and a necklace and earring set. So I did very well. Got some nice things for not very much. So our ball season is already winding down. It feels like it just started, but we had a double header last Monday to make up a rain out, and then we got a double header this coming Monday, and then that's the last of our regular season games. And we've had a game Wednesday. It's been they start playing, normally we play Wednesdays and then introduce Monday games, I think around the beginning of June. So yeah, it just seemed to have gone very quickly this year. So the tournament is next weekend. Once again, we will be spending our anniversary at the ballpark. That's happened quite a few times in the past because it's usually the last weekend in July. So next Sunday's our anniversary. So we're hosting on Friday or Saturday night. We're going to host the ball team here for year-end barbecue. And then it's actually our 35th anniversary. So it's a round number, big year. Some ways it feels like, how could it possibly be that many years? And yet at the same time, it feels like we've been married forever. But in a good way. In a good way. let me emphasize that. It's hard to remember life without Cameron. Anyway, so I think depending on when things wrap up, we might go out for dinner that night on our actual anniversary, because they always have, after the last game on Sunday, they always have a little awards time. So we'll see how long that lasts. But we've been trying to figure out what to do to celebrate, and we didn't really want a party or anything, but we've been talking about going away for a few days, and couldn't think of where we wanted to go. Couldn't figure out exactly when we could manage it with various things going on, but we finally nailed it down. So the first weekend in August is a long weekend. It's BC Day on the Monday. I think a number of other provinces celebrate their Provinces Day that same Monday. So we're going to leave Thursday and go up to a place called Sun Peaks for Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. So Sun Peaks is actually a ski resort. We've been there both in the summer and the winter. We've golfed on the golf course, and then we've snowshoed in parts of the golf course. So it's kind of neat. So we are going to golf one day, and then the other day we're going to take the chairlift up the mountain and go hiking. So I don't ski, so I've never been up the chairlift before. The last time we were there in the summer, I think we were only there 2 nights, so we didn't have time to golf and hike. We only golfed. So I'm really looking forward to, not so much going on the chairlift because they kind of freak me out, but I'm looking forward to going up the mountain and seeing the view from up there and just experiencing that aspect of it. So we'll do that, and then on the Sunday we're going to drive. We're only about 2 hours away from the cabin, so we're going to drive over Sunday and stay at the cabin Sunday night, and then we're going to bring my mom home Monday because she is leaving the next day with one of my sisters. They're going, and her family, they're going back east for my nephew's wedding in Toronto. So yeah, we'll do that. So that all works out, gets gets her down here, because she wasn't quite sure yet how she was getting down here. She doesn't drive, so she kind of relies on somebody to transport her here. So I'm really looking forward to getting away again. Just the two of us, and have a little celebration. Actually, Cameron was away overnight with work, so he's hopefully, well, I've got wine in the fridge. It's appy night tonight. He'll be home in time for dinner. Not exactly sure what time. He's a good couple of hours drive away from here, and I haven't heard from him yet. It's about 20 after 4. I started prepping for podcasting this morning with show notes and things, and then various things took me away from actually sitting down and recording. So I'm going to, once I wind this down, try and get things edited before he gets home, and that it can process while we have our dinner and stuff. But yeah, looking forward to him getting home and catching up. I talked to him last night on the phone, but I don't know, he goes away once in a while, and most times I don't really miss him, if you know what I mean, but I'm really looking forward to seeing him again. Kind of missed him a little more this time for some reason. Something good. Corn on the cob. Where I live, Chilliwack, is known for its corn. And I think it's been out now, been ready for a couple of weeks. We've had it, I think, twice, or is it 3 times? It's great because there's a place literally, a few blocks up the road this way, or a few blocks down the road this way, that just sell it out of, got a wagon full of it, and I can just buy 2 cobs of corn for dinner. It's great. I love that. And it's also still berry season. So we've had strawberries and raspberries and blueberries quite a bit lately. So I do love this time of year for the fresh fruits and vegetables. But yeah, gotta celebrate the first corn on the cob of the year. And I think that's about it. So hopefully I covered everything I wanted to. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Thank you also for all of you that did reach out this past week. I always appreciate hearing from you. I hope you're enjoying your summer so far. And of course, my friends in the Southern Hemisphere, you are the beginning of your winter. So I hope it's going well. At least it's more of a knitting season there now. It does. We've had our weather, like I said, it has not been that summer-like. So it's still nice to be able to knit and not feel like you have too much, heavy stuff on your lap. So yeah, we've had a good summer for knitting so far. Anyway, I think I am just babbling now, so I will say goodbye. I should see you next week. So take care. Until then, see ya.